I feel like the reason I like Narancia so much is because there's been a time where everyone had been him or wanted to be him, in a sense. This might be a bit hard to translate over. Many have been betrayed by someone that they've trusted. Many have been mixed up in the wrong group because it felt like there was nowhere else to go. Many want to be able to strive to be better because of how great the people around them are, and many want people around them so they finally have someone to support them, giving them more initiative to strive. Many want to lead their own life, and many want direction. Many want it all to stop, and many want to move it all forward. If you've ever been one of the many here, congratulations. At a time, you've been Narancia, and you potentially might still be now. When people see Narancia, they usually see an uneducated, rambunctious subordinate. When I see Narancia, I see that too, but I also see someone who is able to become all that they wanted to be, even when the odds were originally against them. I see someone who didn't let their positive beliefs on life be skewed by those that didn't deserve him. I see greatness, and hopefully I'll be able to go about that here. Narancia's loyalty is one that goes uncontested. If he believes that he's with the right people, there's a lot he'd do for them so he can prove himself. For example, the group of friends who he had found solace in. He just wanted some sort of guidance in his life because he had no parental figure to guide him throughout it, but instead he got a group of people who had got him beat, arrested, and ended up abandoning him because of rumors that they've created. But it's amazing that he was able to meet good people like Fugo and have great guidance from a leader like Bruno. Now that he had good people that deserved the loyalty that he gives, he was able to establish his objectives and be able to see them until the very end so that he can prove himself for those who had done so much for him. That's how you get fights like the Formaggio vs Narancia fight or the Narancia vs Squalo and Tizzano fight. In the Formaggio fight, the basis was a normal task, but the obstacles they came with were a lot larger than expected. Regardless, he saw it through until the very end. End of Formaggio at least. Same with the Squalo and Tizzano fight, but what had made the stakes a lot higher actually is that they had their hands on Giorno and he's the only one who can heal the other members. So if Squalo was actually able to get his hands on the other members too, then that could have been the potential end to the journey. Even with that in mind, Narancia had his objective set, and what made it even better is that since Giorno had led Narancia to the answer, it means that he believed in him and knew that he'd be able to see it through. A thing we pick up through our journey is the idea that you need to exclude extreme emotions when it comes to the mission. Getting too caught up can end up being your downfall a lot of the time, so it's made a lesson not to do that because it'll skew your way of thinking. Now, being the one that doesn't understand the most is definitely an obstacle most of the time, but it also lets Narancia be himself all of the time. Regardless if it has a chance to affect him in a negative way, he still goes off, and it's amazing. For example, bringing back the Formaggio fight once again. That unfiltered raw anger, the unrelenting barrage from Aerosmith, topping it off with a bomb, and still kicking the car when it was all over, it was just amazing altogether. Now, doing so let Formaggio weave around him and he was able to take the advantage state at times, but Narancia's fury was able to rip right through all of that. Narancia benefits strongly from being able to show the way that he feels, and it's almost as if he's able to work even better by having that wrathful feeling in him. I think the only thing that Narancia has ever held back on is sadness, and that was for maintaining the composure for others that needed him to. For example, you can see how everyone acted when they had found Abbacchio dead versus how Narancia had responded to it. There was a clear-cut difference in reactions, but while they understand how painful it all is, they have to keep that strong focus on the mission. While Narancia was originally against this direction, it was something that he internalized and used himself when he was done reflecting about the journey itself and told Trish about how he was going to protect her from everything. Granted, that could have just been his passion outweighing his pain because that's something that happens to Narancia normally and he usually shows for it, so if that was that in this instance, then yeah, no surprise there. And for a diet part of this character analysis, going about Narancia's ties with friendship, since while he does find everyone in the group to be a friend of his stance on loyalty stands to be a large factor of his decision making rather than the whole attribute of friendship. For example, he had a hard time trying to pick between Bruno and Fugo because they had done so much for him, and trying to pick between the two had just left him in the middle. It wasn't until seeing what happened to Trish and noticing that Trish was him because they had both been betrayed by someone that they trusted. After that, he was able to stick on who to go with. The thing is, he doesn't hold anything against Fugo, and I would hope the others did too. And we're just going to push that with the idea that there's nothing after part 5. Narancia still sees Fugo as a major part of his life, regardless of him not following the same path as the group. So Narancia definitely still sees Fugo as a friend, especially because it's like, okay, he had done all this for me, and I'm not just going to give that up because he doesn't align with what we're doing right now. And that's great. And then there was the event that was Narancia's death. A death so swift, it just completely had thrown everyone into an emotional blender. You have Giorno trembling because he had felt helpless in the situation, like how he had trembled as a baby when he had felt helpless then because crying was futile. It actually does happen a lot in the manga when you do see Giorno feel helpless, but it's something that just isn't normally adapted into the anime, but this is one of the instances where we do see it. Mista crying uncontrollably, not only because of the impact, but because he doesn't have to put on that composed face anymore. And then there was also his tetraphobia acting up when he had seen that there was something clearly wrong after the time skip. Trish was losing trust in herself because she couldn't sense Diavolo's presence, and we know how much of a problem she originally had with trusting herself from the Notorious B.I.G. fight, and Bruno doing only what a leader can try to do in this case, by trying to maintain the situation and all of this, even though it's hurting him. There are hardly any fronts to maintain here. You see everyone's true colors here at their fullest, and it's all the more painful for this death, but he's at rest now. While the death was so sudden, and there's some unspoken final words between them, I'd hope that they know how much of an impact they were in Narancia's entire life. In the end, while he never got to live the comfortable life that he had dreamed of, this journey, meeting all the great people that he did and developing as strong as he did, made living the life that he originally struggled with all the better. In his reflection of the journey, we had seen how happy he was that he had finally be able to be at peace and do all that he wanted to do, like going back to school, enjoying his favorite pizza, and reconnecting with Fugo. Though he holds all of that back to then reassure Trish that he'd be protecting her until the very end, which he did. And while we can reflect on what we weren't able to do, you live a lot better appreciating what you did. I think if Narancia was to really take an outer perspective, look at himself, he'd be amazed. He was able to make his own decisions, meet an amazing group of people, and was able to protect someone who was abandoned by those that they had trusted, the same way that Bruno and Fugo had done for him. It's crazy. He had basically saved himself in his eyes by protecting Trish and being the person he wanted to be. So Narancia can rest now. There'll be no one to hurt him anymore. And when it's all through and through, Giorno will be taking him back home. Hopefully tonight. Thank you all for watching. This week will be Anime Expo, so hopefully I'll see you there. I don't know when I'll be tweeting out where I'm at. Hopefully I'll just be going about that in a normal way. Because I don't know, there'll be times where I'm like definitely an artist alley, or I don't know, there's a lot of panels that I do want to go to, so potentially I'll be seeing you there. I don't want to like tweet out me going to a panel after that people come over there to not watch the panel or something like that. They're just be rude, so I don't know. I'll see what I can do when. Maybe I might not do it at all because being social with people is fucking terrifying, but yeah. Video pace, it's kind of been hard on me, I guess, recent, because it's just like I want to release videos at a normal pace, whatever the hell, but people want me to basically upload a video on Saturday about the episode on Friday, and I'm like, well, shit, dude, that's kind of fucking hard. Basically, because it's just like, well, shit, that's kind of gotta prep a lot, but then like it's gonna like push aside my other stuff, and then people want me to do videos on other parts because that's honestly something I want to do too. Like I've had a BT video, part 4 video, and I've had a bunch of stuff like already like scripted and edited and all that type of stuff ready to go, but it's, well, not edited, but you know, it's scripted and recorded. But yeah, and it's been difficult because people just, it's kind of hard, like going about everyone's wishes in the same way that all that, because it's like, oh, well, I want to try my best to appease everybody, and that's kind of just been burning me out altogether. But yeah, hopefully I'll get that in order, because it's kind of like up to me. It's my stuff to do. But yeah, it's nothing on y'all, obviously. It's just me having bad timing and shit. But yeah, I swear I don't say but yeah like that purposely. It's just something that happens. I'm sorry. Hopefully I'll see you on the next one. Until then, peace out and Godspeed.